Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Donna Carson. We'll be discussing her book, The Mystery of Grimly Manor, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, author reputationpress.com, or if you guys want to get everything that Donna has to offer, listen, do yourself a favor. Don't stop at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Author Reputation Press. Of course, each one of those are great resources to go to purchase the book. But if you want to get everything that she has to offer and you want to get the full effect, go directly to her personal website. That's DonnaCarsonBooks.com. That's DonnaCarsonBooks.com. There, not only will you be able to find this book, you'll find the other book that she's written as well. Also, you'll be able to find more information on Donna, and then there's hyperlinks set up to take you directly to the Amazon and Barnes & Noble pages where you can purchase the book. So one more time, that's DonnaCarsonBooks.com. And I will say, Donna was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business. Author, Reputation Press Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, well, move it through Author Reputation Press. You can find them at authorreputationpress.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Donna here on the line with us, because her book we're going to be discussing today, The Mystery of Grimly Manor. Listen, it's a fictional narrative, right? It's a suspense thriller for children. But you know what I love so much about this book is instantly, the moment I started to talk to Donna and she started to relay some of the nuances of the book, it instantly took me back to my younger days, which, listen, by this point in my life, it seems like that was an eternity ago. But when I was thinking about it, guys, how many of us can relate? I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, probably in every neighborhood that I've ever lived in, there was always that one house that was like boarded up, never had any lights on. The lawn was always messy and it just looked really creepy, right? And my friends and I would always kind of bait each other, like, oh, who's going to go and try to break into the house, or who's going to go and try to, walk around the property, because it was so mysterious, right? And it was like the haunted house on the block that nobody lived in. Or if somebody did live in there, nobody ever really saw them. And it would just raise so much suspense, growing up. And I loved it because as soon as I found this book and as soon as I started talking to Donna, it instantly took me back there, right? And listen, she's the expert on this matter. She's going to be able to explain all the nuances in her book much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's figure out what this book is all about. Donna, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction. How are you?
I am great, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we appreciate you being here with us, and we're looking at like the opportunity is all ours, all right? Because we're all ears. We're very much excited about this book that you've written. Now, before we go into the book itself, let's hold off slightly. Donna, tell our listening audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised here in Enfield, Connecticut. I've lived here all my life. I know all the haunted places there are. Not only that, but my parents bought the home I'm living in the year I was born. And subsequently, my husband and I, when we got married, my parents retired, sold us the house, so I'm still living in the house that I grew up in.
Wow.
So I still know people from all around town, and I enjoy very much living in Enfield. And my joy at this time is to be able to write.
There you go. There you have it. Well, Donna, first and foremost, thank you so much for sharing. Listen, it's always a pleasure having a fellow New Englander here on the line with me. I'm from Providence. You're from Connecticut. You know, we're neighbors there. I've been to Enfield a few times. I have family. They're in Hartford, or at least they were in Hartford. They now have since moved to other parts of Connecticut, but beautiful area. Love it. And yeah, you know, listen, there's a lot of haunted houses and just stories and mystery around a lot of the New England states there. So we're very much looking forward to this. Donna, The Mystery of Grimly Manor. Tell us about your book.
Well, the story itself is about the main character, Lyra McGregor, and just for information purposes, Lyra spelled backwards is Ariel, and Ariel is my daughter's name.
Oh, wow.
So that's where the name Lyra came from.
That's wonderful.
So she lives in what I would call a pretty new development, of which they tore down all the old mansions that were there and built new, nice homes. But there was one house that they couldn't touch, and it was at the end of the street, and it's a very old, decrepit mansion with a cemetery surrounding it. And it's called Grimly Manor. And as long as a Grimly is alive to live there, you can't touch the house. And obviously the cemetery is not going to be moved. But anyway, this house has so many rumors about who this Mr. Grimly is. Children are terrified to go anywhere near the property because he doesn't have electricity or gas or water, and Lyra's learned this throughout the years she's lived there, that she talks to the postman and he says he doesn't get any bills. So she's really, really intrigued about this person, and the only time you ever see him is on Halloween. And for those children who get up the courage to go in a bunch and knock on the door, they'll hear ferocious growling and snarling, and he will open the door, but he's wearing a mask. And that's the only time they've ever seen him. But every holiday, it's almost like magic. The house, the kids will get up one morning, and for Christmas, the house will be completely decorated. Nobody has been able to figure out how this person lives and how he gets these decorations up and takes them down without anyone ever have seen him. So Lyra really, really would like to have someone her own age to give her a little nudge and help to try and solve what is going on in that house. And luckily for her, over the summer, 2 new families move in. One family right next door to her, another family across the street. And Lyra is 11 years old. She's going to be attending 6th grade. And thankfully, each of the families have an 11-year-old daughter that will be attending the same school. And the story goes on to say that she meets up with them and they become best buddies. And together, the 3 of them help solve the mystery of Grimly Manor. And the book is full of hopefully thrills, chills, suspense, laughter, adventures in the surrounding woods and areas. And they come across quite a few things where they have to dig deep and find the courage to figure out what's going on. So that's an in-depth summary of books about, and that's how the name of the book comes to be, because it was Grimly Manor and it's a mystery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Donna. Listen, this all sounds incredible. Certain points when you were discussing, the characteristics of this gentleman that lives at Grimly Manor, I mean, listen, it's chilling. Okay, this is some suspenseful stuff. You're right on par with everything that I've ever experienced. As I stated, listen, my personal experience there was always that one haunted house in the neighborhood, right? And it just brings back stark contrasts of what I can remember. So thank you so much for sharing. Now, Donna, next question, let's go into inspiration, okay? Now, really multi-part question. A, what inspired you to write this particular narrative? And then B, this is not the only book that you've written, so we'll quickly highlight those other books a little later on. But what inspired you to kind of embark upon a creative journey of this magnitude and become a writer?
I had been working in high-paced manufacturing companies all my life, and I ended up getting laid off, as we sometimes do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with my sister-in-law, who got me to go to the gym every day, and we'd just chat, and she'd say, you're a really creative person. You like doing a lot of creative things. Why don't you try your hand at writing? And I loved to write. In my junior year of college, I was inspired by the professors I had, and they said I had the ability to write, that I had a very creative mind and how it spilled out on the page. And so I gave it a lot of thought because I hadn't found a new job yet. And I thought about maybe seeing if any of the local newspapers or anything would like a weekly comic strip, because my daughter was an artist from the time she could pick up a pencil, and I figured that would be a wonderful collaboration if she could, draw the cartoons and I could do the plot. So that ran through my mind, and then I wasn't really sure that was what I was meant to do. And upon further talking to my sister-in-law, she said, why don't you choose something to write that you're familiar with? Because I had tried writing historical medieval fiction, which is one of the genres I like to read. But I needed all the detail, and it's so overwhelming. And she said, pick out something that you know inside and out. And so I started thinking about all these adventures and creepy things that had happened when I was growing up. And my sister and I, back then there was no technology, basically. So, Mom said, okay, out the door, be back for dinner. So my sister and I would spend as much time as possible in the woods behind our house. And the woods went back a good mile and off to either side a good couple miles. So there was a lot of areas to explore, of which we came across a lot of strange, creepy things.
Absolutely.
So in writing this, I related back to things that had happened in my own life growing up. And also, as my daughter was in 6th grade, she had been having her own adventures. So I plucked bits and pieces from here and there, and I was going on an hour trip to have lunch with my old work buddies, and the book just came to me. I actually wrote it in my head, driving from Enfield to Wallingford, a book. And by the time I got to the restaurant and I met my friends, I was so excited. I said, I'm going to write a book. I said, here's the name of it, and it's going to be about, of course I didn't have, I just had the main plot.
Right.
The haunted house, the mystery that needed to be solved, the 3 friends that come together to solve this. And I really wanted to keep it to the point where there's an explanation. I didn't want to follow I shouldn't say recent, but the norm now is, fantasy with vampires and werewolves. And I just thought a nice, good, clean, mystery that's spooky and has thrills and chills and laughs would really, if children would enjoy this and parents would appreciate it also.
Absolutely. You know, so much about what you said, I love, Donna. First and foremost, listen, I love that this was a family affair, right? I mean, the fact that you were able to work side by side with your daughter and she did all the illustrations for your book, I think is so magnificent and is something that listen, I'm biased because obviously I work with my father here at People of Distinction, right? So I understand the dynamic and really what it does for your relationship. And I think that is such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
You know, you're talking.
And the cover art was painted in watercolor, which she did.
Wow.
And this is at 6th grade. So she went on to art school and college, and she's very gifted. And I was so proud. And I mean, she would just come home every day and go, "Did you write any more? Read it to me."
That's beautiful.
So, we had such fun, and the collaboration was just so healthy and so joyful to be able to work with her.
Absolutely.
On something that she liked.
There it is.
Instead of math.
There it is. Guys, listen, what more can be said? Okay? A good old-fashioned suspense thriller that I'm sure we can all relate to. Great book for your children. A fantastic gift idea for anybody else's. You know what you got to do. Go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, go directly to her personal website, DonnaCarsonBooks.com, to pick up your copy of The Mystery of Grimly Manor by Donna Carson. But guys, listen, that's not all. Okay, we don't have time to go into the other titles today, but she's put out 2 other books. One that is still in creation, hasn't been let out just yet, but she just completed writing it, so be on the lookout for it soon. So her second book that she's written is called An Adventure in Arizona. And then the last book that she just finished completing, and as I stated, will be published very, very shortly, is called Ghost in the Turret. Both of them, of course, will be available on DonnaCarsonBooks.com once they're available. And, of course, you can find it through Amazon and Barnes & Noble as well. Donna, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such a delight having you on our show today as a guest on People of Distinction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Benji. I really appreciate it.